Welcome to the So Damn Worthy podcast. I am your host, Nilita. Join me and my guests as we share our stories, experiences, and knowledge with the intention of increasing your self-worth so that you can finally recognize that you are so damn worthy. Welcome back to the So Damn Worthy podcast. Today I am joined by Stacia. Stacia, if you could just start us off today by introducing yourself to the audience.
Thank you so much for having me, Nilita. My name is Stacia Aashna, and I am a clinical hypnotherapist and a life coach. And I say that my mission is to help heart-centered overachievers claim their freedom. So I'm working one-on-one with people and also leading some groups and mainly doing hypnosis, but also working with a therapy modality called internal family systems. And I love this work.
Amazing. So can you explain to us how you use hypnotherapy? Because some people are like I think we kind of spoke about this a bit before, but when you think of hypnotherapy, you automatically think of like the shows and, 3, 2, 1, wake up. So maybe that's kind of the first thing that comes to mind. But can you explain how you use it as a practice to kind of help people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so misunderstood still, and a lot of people think that it is. I'm gonna make you cluck like a chicken, or I'm in control of you. And there is stage hypnosis, obviously, where they'll put on the show and make people do those things. But it can also be used for a lot of therapeutic purposes. And what I say hypnosis is really helping people to do is to wake them up out of the trance that they're already in. So in hypnosis, in my hypnosis sessions, the main goal is not for you to go unconscious. It's actually for you to become more conscious while navigating your subconscious mind so that you can awaken to your subconscious patterns, the blocks, any sort of memories that might be stored there that need to resurface in order to heal them, because our subconscious is what stores things like trauma. It's where we keep repressed memories, things that we really couldn't handle at the time of our experience of those events, and so we repress them, and that was good that we were wise enough to do that at that stage in our life. But what happens is it just kind of lives there under the surface and it's still affecting us. So when people talk about things like the belief that I am not worthy, that has an origin. There are things that happened in your life that created that belief, and it's likely that it traces way back. And when I do something like age regression hypnosis with a client, we can go back and we can update those aspects of ourselves that might have gotten sort of stuck in the past and integrate them back into the present. And that is a conscious practice that we do using hypnosis, and I blend internal family systems in there as well. We also say that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So a hypnotherapist cannot make you do something that you don't want to do. Your subconscious mind will protect you, and it can also block you. But if a client is really open and receptive to the process and believes in their ability to heal, believes in their ability to wake up and create a new life for themselves, it can be very powerful. So I do hypnosis with clients who are trying to heal things from their past, but I also treat things like addictions, fears, phobias, and it's tremendously helpful. I've seen some pretty wild stuff happen in my sessions with clients.
Amazing. I have a fear of spiders. Could you help with that?
Absolutely.
Because it's real.
Is it?
It's real. Yeah. I remember there was a moth one time in my bedroom and no one wanted to come in and get it. And I decided to sleep outside my bedroom on my floor until my dad came upstairs and was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm not going in that room until someone comes and gets this thing." And then he went and they got it for me. Like, it's like that right now.
Wow. And with moths as well.
Moths, insects, anything that flies, moves fast, that can hide behind a sofa and I don't know where it's gone. It's a no for me.
Yeah, it's like, here you are, this like very strong, powerful woman, and then
and then
when you're faced with a spider, it's like, oh gosh, I am the scared little girl again.
Yes. And my dad's always like, you're bigger than it, and I'm like, I don't feel it. I don't
Well,
feel
in
it.
that moment, you're not. It's like your mind has regressed you back in time, and it's
100%.
like, yeah, it's like maybe as a little girl you had some scary experiences with spiders or insects. But also what I've noticed is a lot of fears are just deep down. They have some deeper origin, like it's a fear of being out of control or feeling unsafe. And it might not be the specific thing so much, it's just that happens to trigger that deep down fear. Like I encounter that a lot with people who have a fear of flying, where it's like once they're on the plane, they often are okay, but the buildup is like this just fear of being out of control. Because in a plane, you're kind of at the mercy of the pilot and the plane. And it's not so much that they had a scary experience with flying, it's that they really like to feel in control because that makes them feel safe and they feel out of control on the plane.
It's so interesting how everything is somewhat connected. Like you would she just hates creepy crawlies. Actually, you have a fear of being out of control. So and when you said that, I was like, oh, she's right. I do. I definitely don't like not being in control. So yeah.
Most people have some of that going on. It's like, of course you want to feel in control. We want to feel safe, and it totally makes sense. So yeah, most people are dealing with, different types of fears, and a lot of it has a deeper meaning.
Okay, so for those of you that take notes, today's topic is finding self-worth through befriending all parts of you. So let's really hone in on this title today. What does self-worth mean to you?
Oh my goodness. Well, self-worth. So I know that you have the Self-Worth Society, which is such a beautiful name for a community.
Thank you.
And self-worth is like, this is a big topic. We can talk about the definition of self-worth.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
But to you personally, what would you define self-worth, or what does it mean to you? How do you kind of communicate that to your clients?
I believe that for me, self-worth is about like really fully believing in myself, really like being committed to myself, and this idea, and the title of our show, loving all parts of myself, of yourself, that's what that means for me. And when I say loving all parts of myself, I refer to even the difficult parts, the parts of us that we might not always like. It's about self-acceptance and really knowing that none of your so-called bad qualities define you, that deep down you are valuable just because you exist, and that it's okay that you have struggles and challenges. That doesn't have any effect on your worth, your worthiness as a person. Everybody has challenges and things that they have to deal with, and even the most destructive aspects of a person, those parts of you don't have any effect on your worthiness or your self-worth. That's how I would define self-worth.
I'm gonna write that down. That was so well said. And honestly, I really love one part in particular that I picked up is you are enough just for being here. I love that. Like some people, I feel like myself included, we feel like we're put on this earth to always do a lot, and we're always doing a lot. And sometimes it's good to just exist, to just be. Like your presence is enough. Like you're more than enough just because you were put on the earth and you get to wake up today, and that's more than enough. And sometimes just take it day by day. And I know for myself, I'm such an overachiever. Sometimes I feel like I set the bar too high, but sometimes it's okay to just bring it back a little bit and say to myself, just breathe. Like your worth is not attached to what you're doing and how many things you're ticking off of your list today. And if you didn't get your top 3 done, oh my god, the world's falling apart. It's like that's really how it goes into my head. But sometimes I have to strip it back and tell myself, like, calm down, just relax. Today you woke up and that is more than enough. Take the day as it comes. So yeah, absolutely loved everything you said.
Yeah, I love how you shared all of that too. I can totally relate to being an overachiever and feeling like I needed to prove my worth. That's very familiar to me as well. And we're so hard on ourselves. It's so much easier to extend that kind of kindness to another person, but with ourselves it's so difficult. But of course, you would never look at me or somebody else and say, oh, you're not worthy. Like, it's such an insane thing to imagine saying to somebody, like, oh yeah, you didn't finish those 3 tasks. Yeah, you're not really, you're okay. Clearly like not a very valuable person.
You just wouldn't say it to anyone. I feel like sometimes we're so much kinder to others, and not even sometimes, all the times, we're just so much kinder to others than we are than ourselves. And I think one thing that I'm trying to definitely push in this community is talk to yourself like you would to your best friend when you're trying to hype her up, like all day, every day. Just talk to yourself like you would when you're talking to a mate that feels like, oh, I didn't do this today, I feel kind of shit about it, and be like, no, do you know what, tackle it tomorrow, it's okay. Like, extend the same grace that you extend to others to yourself, because it's needed. More of it's needed in the world.
100%. I mean, I call myself the self-love hype girl. Like, I hype my clients up all the time, but my mission is to get them to hype themselves up. Because and I see it happen a lot. Like, I'll have clients, come to me and it's just built into their narrative, their inner dialogue all day long, just being so hard on themselves and never acknowledging just how much they work every single day, just how far they've come in their life. And my goal is to help them to get that front and center. Like, that's what I want them to live in that space of, yeah, I actually work really hard and I've done really well in my life. Because generally, a lot of the people that are the hardest on themselves are people that have been, working through a lot, is what I see. Like, damn, girl, like, you have been through some stuff and you are amazing. You are, like, incredible. And I love hyping women up, men up, and then seeing them shift from that narrative of being so hard on themselves to saying things like, wow, I'm actually really proud of myself. That one just gets me every time when somebody says that. I'm really proud of myself. I'm like, oh yes, you should be. Woo! Yes. It's awesome.
I feel like Abraham Hicks would describe you as the person that pushes the car off the hill and then gets the momentum going, and then they take it from there. Like, you're just that little push that they need. I feel like everyone should have a coach of some sort. Coaches are so, just like, what you guys do is just gold. It honestly is, because you allow people to have the space to actually say, like, because oftentimes what I find is people don't want to hype themselves up around other people or people that they know, because they kind of feel like they don't have the safe space to do that. But I feel like a coach or someone who you trust will offer you that space to be like, you know what, give yourself a compliment today, and then you do it and you're like, oh, that actually feels really, really good. Like, oh, I like this.
Yes. Oh, I love that analogy for me of, like, pushing the car and getting it going, because that's also my goal. Is I'm not here because I want people to be dependent on me and they need me to hype them up. I want to get them to see that they can do that, and they don't have to just constantly be doing all this work, that they can really get to a place where they're like, they're just cruising in their lives. I had a really cool experience with a client this week, which I'm sure is fine to share, where, this idea of befriending ourselves. So in IFS, we talk about the importance of really befriending all aspects of yourself, especially those that are really challenging. Like, the inner critic is a really tough one for a lot of people. A lot of people just, hate that inner critic. But that part of you is some aspect of you that is probably actually trying to help. And it might seem totally counterintuitive, but every time I've ever met an inner critic with a person, we can always see that there is good intent there. And I had a client this week who, I love this woman. She right now is working on befriending one of her inner critics. And she sent me a message and she said, she's been working really actively between sessions with this part of her. And she said, I'm making that bitch my best friend and I'm going to shower her with love. And I was like, damn, that is powerful. That will change everything for a person. If you could make your inner critic, that part of you that you just detest, make that part your best friend, and really like give that part so much love, appreciation, compassion, it'll transform. And the inner critic will no longer be so critical. It's because really what we are all craving, and what all of the parts of us, what we are craving deep down is love and compassion and kindness. But we're so tough on ourselves. And if we can give love and compassion and kindness to all aspects of ourselves, again, especially those parts of us that we really struggle with, that's the healing force. That will transform everything. Those parts start to soften, and once they start to receive what it is that they actually want, which is not to be like judged and shamed, which is what we often do to ourselves. You just pile on, you find a part of yourself that you feel ashamed of, and then you feel more shame. It just perpetuates the cycle of shame. But when you instead give kindness and love and compassion to yourself, then things start to change. They actually really start to change.
I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing your client's win. I love that so much.
Thanks.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm sure she felt very liberated when that happened for her. So yeah, long may that reign, because that's amazing. I wish everyone could kind of feel that joy and excitement and just appreciation of yourself, even for a moment. Just feel that. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So now that we've kind of defined what self-worth is and what it looks like for us, what would you say the benefits of having a high level of self-worth are?
Everything changes in your life. So your relationship with yourself, your self-worth, your belief in how worthy you are, that's about your relationship with yourself. Everything outside of you is an extension of that. So we are in relationship with everything in our life, with our partners, but also with our family, with our house, with our job, with our money. All of this is an extension of that. So when you sort of recalibrate your self-worth, where you have high self-worth and you really believe, I am worthy, everything now starts to reflect that. So things have to shift and change. It's like it's like physics. It's like it cannot be what it used to be. If it was, if you were before settling for relationships or work situations where you were underappreciated, not really valued, that's not going to match you anymore. It's just not going to match you vibrationally at all. It's going to have to change. So things will naturally start to shift and start to align with that self-worth that you've now created. And that can be a process, it can be tough at times. I think anybody that's been on the journey has experienced, that there are also challenges in that, because you have to also then sometimes grieve the loss of what you were living and settling for, honestly. But you have to trust at that point. You have to have faith and trust that what is coming is going to be so much better.
Yeah.
It always is. It always is. And when people can really surrender and allow that themselves to just trust that, it really becomes pretty, magical. I don't use that word a lot, but it becomes kind of magical, where life just gets really good.
Yeah. Fun. It's joyful. Joyful life. I think that's what everyone's kind of going towards, is just a life full of joy and appreciation and love and respect and self-respect. And I think that's kind of what we're pushing for, I think, collectively, is just loving yourself and appreciating who you are as an individual, and being okay with however that person may come forward. And then once you kind of get to that point, I guess the rest of it just follows in a very beautiful light, doesn't it? So
I love that.
Yeah. So obviously our title is Find Self-Worth Through Befriending All Parts of You. So let's kind of dive into how exactly do you befriend all parts of you? What does that journey look like?
So in internal family systems, we say that everybody has what is called self-energy, and that's really the center of who you are. And then you're multidimensional. So you have all these different parts. So you have protective parts, which are like your defense mechanisms. And then you have exiled parts, which are, another term is sort of like, usually they're inner children. They're usually like really young, innocent parts of you that have probably been wounded at some time in your life. And these are sort of all the different layers of who you are. People are very fascinating. We're all so dynamic. So, we have inner critics. We have the parts of us that self-sabotage. We have the sometimes people pleaser parts. We have manager parts, the part of us that is, that's really great at kind of standing in the background and monitoring and making sure that we're getting everything done on our to-do list. And then we have parts of us that we really hide very deep. And those are the parts of us that have been wounded and believe things like, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. And usually those messages come through in childhood. And when we're kids, we don't know how to handle that stuff. So we just repress it.
Yeah.
So befriending all parts of yourself is really, first of all, about really getting present and being able to see your internal system, being able to really see that you are multidimensional and you have all these different parts of who you are, and they're all worthy. They're all a part of who you are. And when we can differentiate ourselves from those parts, though, then we can start to transform and heal them. So another way of thinking of this is like, a lot of people, when they're angry, they identify with their anger. They think, I am angry. But there's a really cool switch when you move from I am angry to a part of me is angry. And you can differentiate yourself from your anger and see that's not you. That's a part of you that's feeling angry. And when you can sit and you can actually sort of look at that part of you as if you were almost sitting down and having a dialogue with that part, you can actually start to understand that aspect of you and understand where that anger might really be coming from. And say you're in a relationship and your anger, even rage, is getting triggered a lot in your relationship for something, and it's a pattern that you're in. You're constantly in this. If we can really sit down and befriend that aspect of who you are, you can start to understand really like where that rage is coming from. And you can learn how to take care of it rather than need the relationship to fix it, or rather than like need your partner to fix your anger. You can make friends with your anger and heal that so that it's less extreme, so that you're not just in this pattern of rage or anger with your partner, because nobody wants to. Those patterns are just they're so painful. And people just we do this all the time in relationship. We can't help but go into these old patterns. But you can change it, and a lot of that comes through befriending yourself, through really getting to know yourself on a very deep level.
Yeah, I love that so much. I think the one reason that I love the idea of just the word befriend, like in terms of yourself, is simply because, like we were saying earlier, when you're speaking to a friend, you don't speak to your friends the way that you speak to yourself. And it's a lot more respectful and caring and compassionate. Compassionate is definitely key when we're having conversations with other people, even though they might frustrate us because we might have had the same problem over and over and over again. There's still an element of compassion when we're speaking to other people, but when we're speaking to ourselves, it seems to be stripped away completely. And I love the idea of befriending yourself, like making yourself a friend, not just a being, not just a person that just happens to follow you around everywhere that you go. She is you and you are her and him. And I absolutely I love the way of, I love the name, just befriending yourself. I think that's such a beautiful way of kind of, and it's also relatable. I think people, once they hear the word befriend, they're going to go, oh, okay, to speak to myself like a friend. Got it. And it just makes a little bit more sense, and it's a bit more kind of stripped down and easy to kind of digest that way. So love that.
Thank you.
Love that.
I love that too.
Go ahead, sorry.
The other thing I was just going to say is, I also say, make no part of you your enemy. So just like my client took her inner critic, and, she would, usually people say, F your inner critic, like, just ignore that. What if but it never goes away. It's still there. Okay, so that's not working. That just shoving the inner critic away, it doesn't work. So what if you made that bitch, as my client said, your best friend, and you said, you know what? I'm going to love that part of me. I'm actually just going to really love and embrace that part of me that's doing that. oh my God, like, it's like, it changes everything. It's about befriending yourself. Make no part of you your enemy. You just got to love yourself.
Love that so much. So you can now give us some steps. So once people have gone through these kind of steps or kind of things that you've just given us, what kind of barriers can they expect to come across? Because I mean, change is always uncomfortable. It doesn't really fit right or feel right for the first couple of days, maybe even months for some people, depending on how deep they are. So what would you say are the barriers that people can kind of expect to face in this, and how do you feel like they can overcome them?
Oh, well, everybody's got blocks and barriers. So I love that you're bringing that up, because we should normalize that. Like, just because, you're struggling in your work, your self-improvement work, that doesn't mean that you're failing. That's normal. That's going to happen. You're gonna have resistance. And we have resistance because we're scared of being of really shining and being this version of ourselves that really knows her worth, probably because that's not familiar. So we cling to what is familiar. So if you've been living in a narrative of struggle, or of believing that you're not worthy, that you're not good enough, ironically, that is what feels safe and normal. And it's totally not helping you. So logically you get that, but it's still what feels normal. So it's hard to let go of that when that's all that you've known. It's sort of like you're standing at the edge and you're looking out, and it's like some part of you gets that what is ahead is better, but it's something you haven't really experienced before. So you're scared of it. It's like, I don't know if I really want to go there. So we keep on reverting back to these old narratives of, living from a place of fear, living from a place of not feeling worthy. So you'll probably experience some fear and resistance. So just as I said earlier, a lot of this process is about trusting and knowing that you're on the right path. Having a support through a coach or a therapist or a community is really, really great. And you should definitely do that. If you haven't done that, get support, get a network of people who've also been through this journey or are on the journey, that get it and can really speak to what you're experiencing, so that okay, this is normal. What I'm going through, I'm not crazy. This is okay. And get somebody that can help kind of coach you through that, to help validate you and help you to feel safe in the process. But just knowing that any sort of fear or resistance that you're going to experience is totally normal. But also what you're working towards is something that is so good. If you're on a journey of really befriending yourself or developing your self-worth.
I love that so much. One thing my mum always says to me is familiarity can feel like safety, but it doesn't mean it's always safe. And I feel like that's kind of what you've just said, was just like, feeling like that degrading self-talk might feel like your comfort zone, because that's all that you've known, that's what you're used to, that's your safe space, but it doesn't mean that you're actually safe in it. If anything, you're kind of, it's just going downhill in slow motion, but you feel like you're doing your best, but you don't know that you're actually on the wrong path. And sometimes you just need a little help to kind of get you on the right path. And that's exactly where communities come in, and therapists come in, and coaches kind of step in, and they offer you that kind of, they put the steer in your hand, and you go, oh, I get to actually drive this. I'm not just gonna I don't have to sit on the back. I actually get to, be the captain. So love that so much. Love that so much. Thank you. I feel like we're dropping a lot of analogies and just
I know,
with imagery in this whole podcast.
The imagery is awesome. I was just thinking to myself, I love how you're doing all this imagery, and even in your hand gestures and stuff. I'm like, I totally get. I love it, because I'm the same way. I naturally move into imagery. I mean,
that's how I learn.
That's awesome. Me too. I'm the same way. I have a very vivid imagination.
Same. Everything's on paper, otherwise it doesn't exist. So the hands, they're not going to stop.
That's awesome. I mean, having all that imagery can really help for people who are very visual sometimes it just naturally comes too. The more and more that I do the work, like a lot of the work that I'm doing is engaging the imagination. So there's sort of that imagery just comes through. We just kind of see it and experience it when we're doing things like hypnosis and IFS, where we're really engaging the imagination.
Amazing.
So we don't experience, so like in IFS, it's like we can use the word block to describe, a subconscious block. But in an IFS session, you might actually see the block and you're like, oh yeah, it is like, I'm kind of like chipping away at this wall. And then sometimes I just shatter the wall and then I'm through.
I love
that imagery.
There we go. Imagery. That's fantastic.
Naturally comes through. Yep, totally.
That was fantastic. Just shatter the wall and just walk on straight through. I love that so much. And
what's on the other side of that wall?
We're never going to know until you step through it, right?
Exactly. And that, I was going to say earlier, a lot of that, it just takes courage, and you've got it. Everybody has it. It is the essence of who you are. It's there. It's not something I'm going to give you or anybody's going to give you. That courage is inside of you. And I don't mean that like as a platitude, that like, I mean it because I've experienced this myself, and I watch my clients do this, where they feel so weak and they feel like they're not capable. And once they start to really connect with themselves, they see it. They're like, oh, I actually really can handle this. I can do this. And they see how powerful they are. It's there. Don't ever doubt that.
I love that so much. And more often than not, the people that have gone through the worst are the ones that have the worst self-talk. Like they have the worst inner critic, right? And if only they would just recognize that what you've gone through, that is your strength. Like that is why you're so powerful. Like you wouldn't be who you are today had you not gone through what you went through. And that is your armor. That is your superpower. The fact that you went through all of whatever you went through and you came out on the other side and you're still standing. Like a round of applause for you guys.
Hell yeah. Yes.
Right? Like,
oh my God.
Give yourself props, please. Honestly, it's amazing. So yeah. Love. Stacia, with all my guests, we do a rapid fire questions at the end of our podcast. But before we jump into those rapid fire questions, where can my audience find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Stacia.Aashna. And that's my handle. I love when people DM me or comment on my posts. I'm very engaging on there. And then my website, which is just StaciaAashna.com.
There you go, guys. All the details will be in the description as well. So if anyone wants to kind of click and just follow straight to the link, that will be easy access for you guys there. So are you ready for our rapid fire questions?
Yeah, definitely.
I get really excited about this part because I love hearing everyone's answers. So I'm just like buzzing. Okay, first question. What do you hope to rediscover about yourself?
Whoa. What a question.
Yep. Straight in.
All right. Well, what I'm working on right now is really rediscovering just like, I feel like I'm getting to the next level of just how powerful of a creator I am. So I am creating a new project right now, and I'm really embracing stepping into what a powerful creator I am. So I'm looking forward to that. And
amazing.
It's really fun.
As soon as you've got that ready and going, can you send it to me, and I'll shove it in everyone's face.
Thank you. Yes,
I'll be like,
absolutely.
go do this right now.
Thank you.
What
absolutely.
would you say life has taught you so far?
Oh my gosh. Life has taught me that it is like nothing is really what it seems on the surface. And that the more willing you are to really sit with and be present with your experiences and with what life gives you, like the gifts that are available to you are sort of endless. So don't be shy to like really dive deep into life and into your experiences, because you will be surprised at just how beautiful your life can be, just how empowered you can become, and just yeah, it's awesome. So, dive deep into your life. Don't live on the surface. It might feel great up there at sometimes, like my life might be smooth and easy. You might be scared about going under. It's just like we were talking about before.
Yeah.
If you really trust and you go deep into your life, into your experiences, into yourself, it just gets more and more beautiful, honestly.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. What does happiness mean to you?
Ooh, these are great questions.
Thank you.
Happiness to me means acceptance and presence in the moment for whatever shows up. So I don't think of happiness as merely like a positive emotion. I think of happiness as just being fully present and accepting of whatever you're experiencing in the moment. And it's about allowance and just being in the flow of your life.
Beautiful. Well said as well. How do you quiet your negative inner voice?
I make friends with it.
There we go.
Yeah, I make friends with it.
Coming.
And yeah, I see that part of me is probably a wounded aspect of me that's holding on to some old narrative. Maybe, that's the voice of my childhood self that was bullied. And really, it's not going to help me to just bully her more. She just needs to be loved. So I love that part of me. And then she quiets, and then she's like, oh my God, thank you. I'm so happy that you're not, that I'm so happy that I'm not being criticized more. Cause that's like, just, I'll tell you, like, more shaming and criticism, like that never works. It never works. Just love yourself.
Love yourself. Amazing. And last question, what advice would you give to women on their journey to rediscovering their self-worth?
I love women. I do a lot of community work with women. I have multiple groups that I lead, and I love women. I just think that women are so incredibly powerful. I see it all the time. And if you're on this journey, if you're like stepping onto the journey, and I think a lot of women have been made to feel very disempowered. And a lot of it is the legacy burdens that we carry because of, the oppression of women over the history of women. I mean, it's just a lot of us are just carrying that narrative that we are not good enough, that we are less than. And the truth is you are so powerful. You are so strong. You are so resilient. And I think deep down that women get that. They know that that's inside of them. And the more and more that you can really step into that place inside of yourself, I mean, you could really surprise yourself with what you're capable of creating and being in the world. But it takes again, just really trusting that's there. And you are so strong. If you've felt weak in your life, that you are not capable, that is the farthest from the truth. You are so strong and powerful.
Thank you for that. I love that question because I feel like I always get the best answers out of everyone.
Cool. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much. Stacia, thank you so much for coming on to So Damn Worthy podcast. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me.